Yeah, what a beautiful day to be out there practicing. I remember a line from a great movie, Kelly's Heroes. Donald Sutherland, God rest his soul, said something to the effect of drinking wine, eating cheese, and catching some rays. And 1 out of 3 ain't bad. It was a beautiful day out there for late October, and certainly good to get back out there on the field and put last Saturday behind us. It was a good Tuesday practice, and certainly, at least for me, still quite a sting from that game. So it was good to turn the page and move forward and start preparations for the next one. You hate to see a very winnable game slip away the way we let that one go. But that being said, there were a lot of good things that happened in the game. We rushed it for 242 yards. We only lost 12 yards rushing. Didn't give up any sacks all day. We had over 300 passing, completed 22 of 34. We only punted 3 times, and when we did, we netted 46 yards, no return yards, no offensive turnovers. We did put the ball on the ground twice, but fortunately recovered both of those. Defensively, I would say the highlight was that we held them to 2 field goals in the red zone. One of those, the play before they kicked it, the ball went right in and out of our hands. We had a chance to intercept that one, and that was a little bit of the story of the day. Western converted 6 of 13 on third down, 46%, much more than in a game like that than we can stand for. So they were able to stay on the field and keep the chains moving at times. We converted 4 of 12 on third down, which wasn't good enough for that game. We also missed 1 critical 4th down, so we had a 3rd and short, lost a yard, went for it in plus territory on 4th and didn't get it. They had 5 touchdowns in the red zone. We settled for 2 field goals in the red zone, one of which was a fast break field goal. We were down 2 scores late in the game. We knew we needed to score twice. We actually executed that pretty well, and had our timeouts and had time to get the ball back. So I was pleased with that. I wasn't happy that we didn't score a touchdown on that drive, but I was happy with the execution of that late game situation. Some ugly stuff though. We muffed 2 kickoff returns. One resulted in a turnover. Great field position for them, an easy score for them. We gave up a 75-yard kickoff return. So we battled back. It's 28-10 game. And I guess one of the good things would be that we battled back and we made it a 38-38 game with 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, but then we gave up that long kickoff return. We allowed over 200 rushing, included a 54-yarder that basically broke our back at the end of the game with poor tackling there. And then we had some untimely penalties. The ejection with the helmet to helmet or targeting, that was huge because that was right at the start of the 2nd quarter. We were already down Savion Brown, who had played his best game against Toledo. So we're down 1 starting DB, and then we lose another starting DB early in the 2nd quarter. And you're playing against a team that's very high-powered offense and capable of throwing it all around the yard. And so being down 2 defensive backs there, we were forced to play a lot more base defense, which is not ideal, but we still have good people and good players, and guys need to step up and make plays. And we didn't play a clean enough game. We didn't make plays when we had the opportunities to make them. And so the result is it ends up coming down to being put in the officials' hands, which you never want to do, and it didn't go our way. So time to move on, and no rest for the weary for sure. Playing against a very, very strong Ohio U team this week. They're 4-3. They're 2-1 in the conference. They just lost a tough game themselves to their rival Miami this past Saturday, but they've got really good wins so far this year over Central Michigan, over Akron. They beat a really good South Alabama team from the Sun Belt, and they beat Morgan State. They lost at Kentucky. They played Syracuse extremely well at Syracuse, and then I mentioned the Miami game. But very physical on both sides of the ball, very well coached in all three phases. A lot of veteran players. They're only giving up 116 yards rushing per game on defense. Offensively, they've got an extremely athletic quarterback who can make a lot of things happen by design, with quarterback runs, with zone reads, with RPOs, with movement throws, but also quite a threat when he scrambles. And he's able to hurt you in a lot of different ways. They're averaging 192 yards rushing per game. So this is a team that likes to run it and stop the run. They're extremely good on third downs. They're converting 40% on third down, and they're only allowing opponents to convert 32% on third down. So they do a good job getting off the field on defense. They do a good job staying on the field offensively. And they know how to win close games. So we've certainly got a challenge ahead of us here. A couple other things that I'll say about Ohio, just going back to my previous tenure in the MAC. This is a program that I have long admired and have great respect for. I think they do things the right way. I think they're not afraid to say that football is important there. And they've made a great commitment to football at every level, retaining good staff and building excellent facilities and bringing in really good players. And during my years at Ball State, I would always talk to our constituents there about using the Ohio program as a model to build things the right way. And a lot of that credit goes to Frank Solich and what he did there, and Tim Albin has just taken over right where Frank left off. They've had great continuity, and they really haven't missed a beat. At Ball State, we had a great game down there in 2011 and kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter to win it 23-20. And then we played them again in Muncie the following year, and a guy named Kelly Page came in for Keith Wenning, backup quarterback, and we were able to win that game. And then a few years later, we went down to Ohio in 2015, and they beat us in a high-scoring game and did a great job. So it's a program I'm very familiar with. They play extremely well at home. It's a tough place to go play. It's a tough trip. Getting there is half the adventure. So we'll have a plan for that, and fully expect to see them putting forth, their very best. They're coming off a tough loss as well, and there's a tremendous amount of pride and leadership in that program. And I know it's going to be a big day for them. They're honoring Coach Solich. I believe it's also their senior day, so I'm sure it'll be an emotional day for them down there, and we've got to be ready to take their best shot. So that being said, I'll open it up to your questions.
Pete, you talked about the ending of Saturday's game. Has the MAC reached out to offer you any further clarification or explanation about the spot in the ruling?
Sure. I reached out to our coordinator of officials, Bill Carollo, who I have great respect for, and we have a very good relationship going back to my first time in the league at Ball State. And we had a very candid conversation about it on Monday, and I felt like he gave a very good response. Basically, you only have so many views from upstairs, and he said they did look at it and gave it their best shot, and felt like the line judge over there had a good view of it. So that's that. We did talk about a few other plays in the game as well.
Would it be correct to say, it looked like looking at the video, that maybe the spot was right and the chain was wrong, or did you get any clarification? Total transparency, one of the things mechanically that he was disappointed with was that if the drive is starting on the 25-yard line, they really shouldn't even ever have to go out there and measure it. Either the ball got to the line or it didn't. So I think that's the thing from his perspective that maybe could have been handled differently by the crew, but he feels good that based on the information they had, that they made the best spot that they could. And look, I said this before, said it after the game.
you never want it to be one play. You never want it to come down to that. It is what it is. That we had plenty of opportunities to play better over the course of 60 minutes or 59 minutes leading up to that, to not leave it in the hands of the officials. So I respect those guys and the job they do, and those are difficult calls to make, and we could have done a better job in the previous 59 minutes not putting ourselves in that situation.
Is the fight back from your team one of the positives that you take from that game?
Absolutely. To be down 28-10 in the second quarter and playing sloppy and things aren't going real well. Our defense, which is normally very stout, was struggling at times, and we closed the gap before halftime, and then came back out and played better in the second half. And the fact that we were able to get into a track meet with Western Michigan and basically keep up with them was really good to see from our offense, because that really hasn't been in our DNA up until this point. But the last 2 weeks, we're moving the ball better, we're running it better, we're throwing it better, we're creating more explosive plays, and that's certainly something that needs to continue here the next 5 weeks.
Two of your best games, if not maybe your two best games, have come after losses in the previous game. Do you think there's something about that, or is there anything about the preparation and adjustments coming off a loss that you think has helped you?
I was a business major, not a psych major, so I don't try to figure those things out. I do, look at how we performed and look at that, win or lose, look at it critically, look at myself critically, and there were a lot of things from a coaching standpoint that we could have done better in that game as well. There were times where I thought we coached really well, and then there were some little things where we could have saved a few seconds here and there that certainly could have helped us, in a game where it came down to inches and seconds at the end.
Pete, you got some contributions from some backup receivers that don't play as much.
Mm-hmm.
How is that position evolving with the way you're using guys and how they're starting to play?
Yeah, one of the things that we really have, I certainly haven't forgotten about it, and I was just having a nice conversation with him today, but, we lost our best receiver in the Missouri game, and so for the last several weeks, we've been challenging other guys to step up. Guys have been thrown into the line of fire, and one of our mantras around here is that everyone matters and everything matters, and so you're constantly trying to develop your entire roster, but when opportunities are presented, you're challenging guys to step up, and it's been good to see with the loss of our best receiver in Nick McMillan that some other guys like J.J. Jenkins and even Chance Morrow the other night, some guys are taking advantage of those opportunities. And, I don't know so much about, bouncing back after losses and playing your best, but, Vic Snow, didn't play great at UConn, and then these last two games against Toledo and Western Michigan, he's played extremely well, and some other guys continue to grow and develop and evolve, and Messiah Birch continues to play a bigger role in the offense, and that's good to see. Jake Orlando has been relatively healthy the last 2 weeks, played a lot the last 2 weeks, and is playing pretty well. So again, a lot of really good things going on, and we're excited about this opportunity this week.
Pete, you brought up a good point about creating more explosive plays. I mean, and the team did a really good job of that in the first half. Got a little more measure in the second one. What does the team need to do to really continue the consistency in creating those explosive plays, those big game plays?
Yeah, just stay the course. Stay the course. Our quarterback's getting some experience under his belt, and with every one of those plays you make, I think you get a little bit more confident to make some more. And some of those deep balls, really going back to the Lafayette game, we've connected on I guess probably 5 out of 7 games now we've had our share of those. And it's been a lot of different guys. Tad Barr is another guy that stepped up and played a lot the other night at receiver and made a big play on a one-on-one play on the outside. So, it's part of every game plan, and it's trying to take those shots at the right times. So there's certainly a timing element to it, and some things need to align, getting the right matchup. And then we do work really hard. Worked it today for 6 minutes in practice, wide receivers against DBs and trying to high point balls and go up and get better and better at making those 50-50 plays. And we need to make them at defensive back too. We had an opportunity at 1 or 2 of those the other night. I mentioned one where they ended up kicking a field goal on the next play that, we make that play and maybe it's a different game. So it's a work in progress, just like everything else.
When you look,
You mentioned being forced a little bit into that base defense in the second half, but you had some success getting some stops. Is there anything you liked about that alignment? But also, what is the challenge with having teams that are putting more wide receivers on the
Yeah, so everything ultimately comes down to matchups, right? And you're trying to get your best people out on the field to match their personnel and match what you anticipate seeing from those personnel groupings. Sometimes the answer is we may be better with 3 linebackers on the field, even if they're getting into some more spread type personnel groupings. And our guys, one thing, they're going to play hard and they are going to absolutely give us high-end effort regardless. But there's definitely an element of matching personnel that you'd like to have there. But again, you got to play the hand you're dealt, and we were shorthanded. But no, I think in the second half we just, more than anything else, and I think Rachel asked me a similar question after the game. I think we just sort of calmed down, did a better job communicating in the second half, and then when some of those balls got thrown, we made more of our share of plays in terms of breaking up passes and things like that. So, that's whoever's out there, we're going to try to put them in the best position we can, and then, guys got to make the plays when the opportunities present themselves.
The passing game really became a factor against Western. What does it kind of have to do to maintain and sustain itself, and its productivity at Ohio? Sure.
Well, it starts up front with the protection, and you come out of a game and you don't give up any sacks. You're going to have time to throw and the quarterback to step up in the pocket. That'll be a challenge this week. This is a very rugged defensive front and a team that presents a lot of multiple looks, including some 3-down looks similar to what we saw against Connecticut a few weeks ago. So they're going to present some challenges in terms of IDing fronts and making sure we have the right people on the right people, and the fact that they're talented up front, and when they bring pressure, whether it's linebacker or nickel or corners, they're going to do a good job disguising it. And then when they come, they come hot and heavy. So we're going to have to do a great job holding up first and foremost. And then their defensive backs, I'm particularly impressed with their corners and their man technique on the outside. They do a really nice job matching up, very sound fundamentally, like they are at every other position across the board.
when you look at Ohio in the video, what do you like that maybe if you point to one thing that they do well that your team has to kind of come in and stop and to be successful?
Yeah, they do pretty much everything well. If there's anything that stands out that I'm sure their coaches are harping on is that they've had an inordinate number of turnovers this year, and I'm sure that's not to their liking. And from our standpoint, that's something that we need to create on our end. If there's opportunities to get the ball out, we've got to do our best to make that happen, because obviously you get one or two of those and that could be game changers. And I'm sure from their standpoint, they're looking at some of their earlier games when they put the ball on the ground and making sure that they're doing everything they can to fix it. So that's what we do as coaches, but they're a heck of a football team.
Buffalo hasn't won at Ohio since 2008, and only one win, I think, at that stadium. Why do you think that is a tough place to play, a tough trip, maybe independent of how good the opponent is? What about the trip and the environment makes it difficult?
Sure. Well, these kids weren't around in 2008, and most of the guys on this team have never been down there before. So that's not something we're worried about. Yes, it is a challenging place. You fly and stay in Columbus, and then you got to bus down there and play a noon game. But to me, it goes back to the culture of your program, and we control what we can control. We don't worry about what we can't. Our mentality is, play anytime, any place, anywhere, and don't worry about the circumstances. So yes, it'll be a little bit more of an adventure getting down there, and some different things we need to do preparation-wise with our itinerary and our logistics. But once we get off the bus, it's we should show up there 2 hours before, and the specialists will go out at 90 minutes before, and then each wave of our guys will go out for a pregame, and at 22 minutes we'll exit the field and we'll go back to the locker room, and then it'll wind down to 0, and somebody's going to kick off, and somebody's going to have their kickoff return unit out there, and let's go.
One more. Savion Brown, he's not on the depth chart this week.
Yes.
Two different.
He had surgery yesterday.
What was the surgery?
It was a lower body injury, and very successful surgery. His mom is in town, and he's resting and recuperating right now. And but he'll certainly be out for the remainder of the season. Really proud of him. He came in here from Western Michigan. You can imagine his disappointment not getting a chance to play in that game last Saturday. But he's put on upwards of 20 pounds since he's been here, and really grown into a great hybrid safety linebacker for us, a very versatile player, and doing extremely well academically, and just a very conscientious guy who's been a great addition to the program. And so we're keeping him in our thoughts, and he's a tough guy, though. He'll be just fine, and looking forward to having him back and ready to go for spring practice.
How has James McNeil been doing with his
Yeah,
recovery?
I'm so glad you asked.
Okay.
Yeah, James is doing great. He's progressing very nicely. He's not in pads yet, but I'm really hoping by early November that he is. And with the current redshirting rules, we'll be able to play him in 4 games. I don't know that he'll be ready to play in 4, but he was having a fabulous preseason, and we were fully expecting him to make a significant contribution on special teams, if not at running back. So it would be great to see him continue to progress over the next couple of weeks. And I don't know if it'll be Ball State or Eastern Michigan, but somewhere in there. Would love to see him ready to go and get some meaningful reps while we still have time this season. Thanks for asking. Okay, appreciate everybody.